So in this particular video, I'll be talking about kind of like a phase of my life where I had spent 2.5 years of my life chasing this like weird facade of success, chasing something that I would quite honestly say that I never really succeeded at. I just don't necessarily take that as a negative experience of my life, even though it was pretty bad, I was miserable. But I try to apply kind of like the knowledge that I've learned, the mistakes that I've made, because after a particular point in life, you just realize that you will make mistakes as a person. But the crazy part about life is you just do not want to repeat those mistakes. So in this video, I'll be talking about 3 main lessons that I've learned from, let's say, that particular phase of my life. I keep repeating the word phase of my life, phase of my life. So I think you guys deserve a little bit of context, so you kind of like get a hindsight of what I'm necessarily going to talk about in this video. So here's what happened. So I'll take you a little back in time. Let's rewind, kind of like go back in 2018. In 2018, I graduated 10th class. In 10th grade, I had a decent score. I don't necessarily think it's like way up on top. Neither do I think it was bad. I scored about 92% in my 10th grade. I liked mathematics and science as a kid. More so techie things, let's say. Computer science, maths. You know, those two were my favorite subjects back in the day. So I decided to take science as my main stream in class 11. You know, the Indian education stuff, you have 3 streams. You can take commerce, that, or some people call it as business. You can also take liberal art, humanities. You know, these are synonyms for the same thing. And the third one is science. So I took science and later decided to sort of like pursue engineering, which is particularly what I'm doing at this point in my life. So during those 2 years of my life, I quite literally worked my ass off. I'm not even kidding. I used to wake up every day at 6 in the morning, and that was like the worst case. Even there were days when I used to like wake up 4 a.m, 4:30, 5 o'clock, something in that particular range. On a normal course, I used to wake up every day at 6 a.m, kind of like get ready with everything, you know, study for about an hour or so, revise everything that was taught previously, brush my teeth, do the regular stuff, take a shower, blah blah blah, go to school at about 7:30 a.m, and my school used to start at 8 a.m back in the day. Then my school used to end at 2:30 p.m, and then I came back home at about, you know, 3 a.m, something like that. And then I used to quickly grab my lunch and straight away sort of like run to my coaching institute from about 3:15 p.m. And I used to have classes from like 4 p.m. straight till like 8 o'clock at night. So I used to come back home at like 8:30, 8:35, something in that particular time phase. I took rest for like 10-15 minutes, and I would just quite literally eat up my dinner in just a matter of seconds, which is very unhealthy. I just do not recommend that. And then I used to sit for like 3 or 4 hours straight on my chair and study like a crazy mad person. And I slept at like 1:30, 2 p.m, 2 a.m, by the way. It's like late at night at that particular point of time, and wake up again and kind of like repeat that particular cycle over and over again. I did this continuously for 2.5 years without taking any break in my life whatsoever. I cannot even remember going out with my friends or going out on a vacation or just partying or enjoying anything like that. Like I just didn't do any of that. Like I just straight up didn't do any of that stuff. And if you kind of like want complete details, and I just don't want to get into my IIT JEE story and how I failed miserably in that, even though I would again say like I was a decent student. I was not a bad student either. I was excellent back in my day. You can go check it out. I'll link it somewhere up in here. There's a shameless plug linked in the description as well. You guys can go and check it out, but I just do not want to repeat that entire story because this video in particular is about something that's completely different else, and now we're getting onto that. If you want the complete context, you can go and rewatch that entire story. But in this video, as I said, we'll be talking about 3 lessons that I learned from that particular phase of my life. Lesson number 1: dreams are delusional. Every once in a while, I kind of like run into somebody, or just like you can just scroll through Instagram or YouTube shorts these days, and you will find some older guy or girl often talk about the fact that how it's like so necessary to work hard to be successful, and it's like if you work hard you will be successful, blah blah blah. They kind of like have motivational quotes based on that. They're writing a bunch of stuff, they're talking about a bunch of stuff in that regard. And when I look at those guys, like even girls who are just older than me in that regard, who in their 30s, 40s, something like that, who may be successful in certain domains of their life, let's say, and they talk about how hard work is responsible for success, it often makes me think that these guys have not really gained any wisdom in life, like whatsoever, like no joke. They probably sort of like succeeded at doing this one thing in life, which gave them this sort of like bias in life that if you work hard you will be successful, because it just worked out for those guys. That doesn't really say anything to all the wisdom of the world. They haven't really gathered any wisdom that life has to offer at all. Life is so different. If I were to say it in terms of like computer science, it's a really stupid complex algorithm. You don't fucking know anything that's going on. Just making such stupid conclusions would not help you whatsoever. So it's not recommended to think in this linear direction and think to yourself every day that working hard would necessarily necessarily make me successful, which may not be the case at all, because I have tried it. That doesn't work. There's like n other factors as well that kind of like sum up, stack one on top of the other. That in totality counts up for your success, not just the hard work alone. Sort of like to simplify things and kind of like make more sense out of it, let's consider this example for a second. Let's say I like playing basketball and I think to myself one day that, hey, I just want to be in NBA someday because I'm inspired, let's say Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Kobe Bryant. I just look at these guys and I'm like, dude, I want to be like them one day. Do you really think to yourself that if I work really, really hard, I'll be in NBA one day? Like, let's be honest, I would not be. And most people wouldn't be. The odds of that particular event ever happening in reality is like super slim. Your margins of success are really tiny. You would most likely never succeed. And the same goes for most people having their dreams of becoming an NFL player. Like, it's just never gonna happen. Like, dude, let's be honest with that. It doesn't matter how hard you work. That's just a sad reality of life. So for me now, in this particular phase of my life, having a better direction is much more important than just blindly criticizing this fact, critiquing this fact that, you know, this guy didn't succeed in life because he didn't work hard. You know, it's just dumb, stupid shit. There's n other factors that are associated in somebody else's success too. And even when you look at somebody else's success, you always have to sort of like remember the fact that this guy or this girl had completely different factors, completely different circumstances when they played out this game. A game meaning a certain activity. Maybe that was trying to be a rapper. Maybe that was trying to be, let's say, a YouTuber or succeeding in a startup, a tech company. Like, their factors were completely different than your factors. So you cannot just make this, you know, linear comparison of thinking like this is equal to this. So if I do this, I'll get this output. It doesn't work like that. As I said, the reality in which we are living at the moment is a really complex thing. We don't know what the fuck is going on. So just do not make weird conclusions like that. So that kind of like brings us to the second lesson that I've learned. And that is, forget about productivity, otherwise you will lose your creativity. Or if I were to kind of like sum it in a very simple way, I would just say direction is much better than speed. You would notice it, especially in this common era where we live. Everybody posts once in a while and it's just funny to me. Everybody's like posting a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn, and for me it's kind of like a joke now. People talk about, hey, I'm doing this internship, I'm writing this research paper, I'm doing all of these, you know, cool things, quote unquote, and I'm making a lot of progress. For me, my perspective around that has sort of like changed so much over these years that I think to myself almost every day or every other day, let's say, having a better direction and going slowly in that direction is much better than having a wrong direction and going at a pretty fast pace. Because end of the day, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, the outcome of both of those activities is just going to be completely different. Do not think to yourself that the progress that you're making right now, the productivity that you're having right now really makes a lot of impact, really makes a lot of difference in the things that are going to happen in, like, let's say 10 years from now. That may not be the case at all. And more so, sooner or later you will also realize the fact that, hey, I don't necessarily like doing this thing. And I was just fooling myself thinking the fact that I was being productive, I was doing something with my time, but in reality I didn't even look like just doing this thing. I just kind of like wasted all these years of my life where I could have done something completely else. And even though I used to kind of like preach a lot about productivity on this channel, my take on that has changed significantly over the past couple of months. To be honest, I used to talk about Notion and Obsidian and all these amazing, let's say, productivity apps or systems that can help you optimize your life. I still like those things, but my take on that has sort of like shifted so much over the past couple of months. For the past couple of months, I haven't been making to-do lists at all. I don't even remember what was the last time I was sitting in Obsidian and kind of like making notes with a lot of dedication, let's say. It's been really casual with that. And even with Notion, like, I just do not like making Notion pages. Like, I was obsessed with having a fancy Notion page, having a kind of like a crazy task management system with that, even though an updated video will be coming about my task management system and sort of like how it's changed it, because I think a lot of people were involved in it. I was recently going through my last year video about my productivity system 2021, and that video has literally like 5,000 views. Like, blows my skull off. It was like 4.7k views, something like that. When I made that video, I made that video as a joke. I made that video sort of like mimicking what Matt Diavella did, talking about a simple productivity system, and that video has a lot of views. So I think that topic maybe interests a lot of people. I'll make updated version of that as well. But if I were to speak kind of like with a fair bit of honesty, I would say that the past couple of months I've really enjoyed a lot. Like, I've really enjoyed working. If you have been following me anywhere on Twitter, on Instagram, I'm making podcasts for a past couple of months, and I haven't been making these videos, the one that you're sort of like watching for a long time. Like it's been 2 months since I haven't made even a single video. Like I was posting a couple of videos, but they were shot beforehand. Like I did not shoot even a single video. I was sitting with a piece of paper with a notepad and I was just making video one after the other. And I just didn't like it. Like what I did was I sort of like refined all of those ideas and sort of like started from scratch, because I thought to myself like that was the thing that was probably needed to be done in that case. And more so, like I challenged myself creatively to think about a lot of other things. For example, I have changed this setup situation that you're sort of like looking at. I have changed this, like, I would say, at least 7 to 8 times. Like I can insert a bunch of clips, me trying to like mess with the entire setup situation, because I'm sort of like taking minor little details that I wasn't really taking into consideration for such a long time. Like I just bought this new camera. Like this is the very first video that I'm literally recording. I don't even know how it would be. I'm changing things, everything. Even with the kind of video ideas that I have, I had like more than 200 ideas. I scraped all of them. Like no joke. I just decided one day, I don't even like making such kind of videos. Like why am I even scripting for such videos? And I just deleted all those things. And in this particular phase, I really enjoyed sort of like the key ideas, the core ideas with which I started this YouTube channel. The fact that I love photography, the fact that I love video editing, filmmaking, all those things. I have really changed workflow with which I used to work. Like if you see the past 2 to 3 of my videos, I don't post a lot of videos. Like I post a video in 2 weeks. That's what I'm doing at the moment, and I'll try to shift it to that particular point. But if you look at the video editing, just the last video, like go and watch that video, like me being addicted to video games, and I'm talking about that story in the form of video essay, and just see the level of editing. Like you can see a significant jump. Just go 5 videos back and you'll be able to see that jump. And that is because of the fact that I was not productive at all. I was just purely focusing on creativity, how to improve the system, how to kind of like improve the game. So for me at this particular point of time, creativity is much more important than productivity. That particular relationship doesn't necessarily play along in every particular case of life, but as far as this stuff, YouTube channel, me making videos, I used to enjoy that stuff when I was creative, and this idea of being productive, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that, sort of like ruined the entire thing, and I just didn't feel like making videos at all. I don't know, probably I would have had much more higher subscribers and probably a higher return from this channel if I was just being creative and sort of like making the kind of videos that I liked making. Like I just said, that random video has like 5,000 views and I just made it for fun. I never thought that that particular video will get that many views, and there's like a couple of them. I made a bunch of YouTube shorts that has like over 2,000-3,000 views, which for my kind of channel size, I have like 300 subscribers at the moment, something like that. That seems insane. Like that seems a bit weird to me. That's kind of like the way it is. So that sort of like brings us to the third lesson of this video, and that is take calculated risks. One of the oldest wisdoms that you probably would have learned even back in the school days is that do not put all your eggs in one basket. And I have learned in my life that it's so true. A lot of people would often tell you like, take this one thing, do this one thing, and just keep going, hustling, keep going after that one thing. And that is okay, not necessarily wrong, but you kind of like have to sit in this mathematical equation, sit in this spot where you kind of like note down what all I can gain if I work at this particular thing and what all I can lose. And then you have to sort of like justify to yourself, is the gain significant enough so that I can just bear the loss? Or maybe the loss is so significant that the gain doesn't really sit even close. For example, let's say you decide one day that you want to be a music artist. You like music. Fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Having a creative pursuit is absolutely amazing. There's nothing completely wrong with that at all. That does not mean, and I see a lot of people often telling you these days, and a video about that is coming as well, but they will often tell you like drop out of college or just like school is shit. You just shouldn't focus on school, which may seem right at that particular point of time, especially with the kind of mindset you're having. You think to yourself, hey, I like music. What the fuck is this teacher teaching me with all these stupid history lessons? And maybe in like math, you don't like math, and you think to yourself, maybe school sucks, maybe the education system sucks, and maybe it does suck at some places in your life, and it is completely okay to justify that. But that does not mean that you can sort of like take those things in the background and think to yourself, hey, I'm not gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You have to keep a balance of things. What I've learned in life is that it takes a long time for you to succeed at anything, so there's no point at all sort of like being in a situation where you have to bear such a higher loss. The gains seem so significantly lower than that. For me, it's not a good trade-off anymore. Like, I'll just be completely honest. I would rather take a much more like a long-term approach than something that kind of like provides me with a short-term gain and just run for that like a crazy mad person. I would any day prefer to have a get-rich-for-sure scheme that takes me like 15 years to succeed rather than a get-rich-quick fix that can either like ruin my life in 6 months or make me a millionaire or whatever financial numbers you want to put in on top of that. And I was reading this book, Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I think it's kept somewhere right here, maybe not. Like, I'll just put a photo of that right on the screen for you guys. In that particular book, the author Morgan Housel, and I think it was chapter 7 of that particular book, the author talked about how the most important part of a plan is to make sure what happens when the plan fails. That's the most important aspect of making a plan, to know what to do when the particular plan doesn't even work. Because a lot of people often make a plan and they're like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Like, well, sunshine, when you go in reality, you realize that there are like n number of factors that are associated. Again, I'm mentioning that, and I'm talking about this for like the third time in this video alone. Reality is so much more complex than you think about it. People often think to themselves in this linear sense that I'm gonna do this is gonna happen, but the moment you sort of like step into reality, you sort of like realize that things are much more difficult than they seem, and there's a lot of hard work, and there's like n number of factors that are associated with that as well. And sort of like this idea to kind of like have a hindsight, to know, sort of like have a bird's eye view at your plan and know what to do when that plan doesn't even work. It's like such an amazing idea. I never thought about things like that. Like, I'll be just completely honest with you guys, I never thought about things like that at all whatsoever. Like, in my current life, I make these YouTube videos and I really enjoy the process of making these YouTube videos, and behind the scenes I'm doing engineering. A lot of you guys might not even know about it. I'm pursuing computer science. I'm in my 3rd year of my college. It's the 5th semester. Like, half of my engineering is literally done. So I used to make YouTube videos and spend a lot of time on YouTube videos, but for the past couple of months I haven't been making YouTube videos, to be honest. And as I said, I wasn't feeling it. Like, I'll be honest, I was much more focused on my engineering, even though I would be completely honest and say I was not putting 100% of my energy over there. It was sort of like a split. But this time it was more on that side of the spectrum than this side of the spectrum. And people might find it strange, but I'm focusing more on engineering at this particular point in life, even though I love making YouTube videos, and I'll probably be making a video a week again. I'm also making a podcast on the side. I'll also be making a Hindi channel. That's sort of like a thing that's work in progress. I'll update you guys on that. But there's things that I'm working on. Like, I'm pretty excited about these things, and that at no point means that I'm not spending my energy into that. As I said, I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But for me, the thing is, life has got to this particular point where I just want to make sure that I'm not focusing on a lot of these verticals, and I have sort of like constrained myself to these 3, 4, 5 things, and I'm spending almost all of my time on that rather than like 15 different things, out of which 14 or 13 would never work. And just kind of like looking at this from the perspective of somebody who is ignorant and thinking to themselves, what if that one thing succeeds and kind of like compensates for the other 13? It's so stupid. Like, I just don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to be that foolish person in that case. This video was kind of like an update of where I have been and what all things will be changing with this channel. You will see in a couple of months, in a matter of like 3 months, I suppose, you will be able to see in the catalog everything about this channel will significantly change. And also kind of like reflecting back on the stuff that I did. Maybe these 3 lessons you would find it helpful. Maybe you will be able to use this particular wisdom that I gained through a really bad experience in my life. Maybe that helps you in a certain way. So I think that was pretty much it from my side. If you guys like watching this video, make sure you guys give this a thumbs up. This is your first time on this channel. My name is Deerghkataria. I'm a computer science student by profession, and on this side I make YouTube videos on a variety of topics. My kind of like theme about this channel is to tell you guys, tell the audience, the people, how to sort of like optimize your life in different aspects, whether I'm talking about in the form of a video essay, a video about productivity, filmmaking, anything. That's kind of like the whole theme of this channel. So if that's something that particularly interests you, make sure you consider subscribing. And that's it from my side. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.